Hey, this is Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia Murder here, and you're listening to the EVERBLACK Podcast.
Hey, human skull, this is odorous from Guam.
Going to the Fear Factory.
This is George Corps from Under Fisher.
This is Gas from Devil Drop.
This is Wade from Our Lost Enemy.
Mike Nick from Suicidal Tendencies.
Hey, this is Wednesday 13.
This is Rex from Kill Devil Hill.
This is from Sepultura. You're listening to EVERBLACK Podcast.
Before we go into this episode, we need to give a shout out to our show supporters, Blacklight Art Design, who are our go-to for all our screen printing needs. Check them out at blacklightad.com.au. RW Promotion, who are the best in the biz for all your promotional printing needs like stickers, flyers, banners, badges, and more. Go order yours through rwpromotion.com.au. The brutal occult clothing brand Electric Witch, who have amazing apparel from shirts, hoodies, hats to beanies and more. Check out their full range at electricwitch.com.au and put in the code EVERBLACK for 20% off your order. Also, Lumberpunks Axe Throwing Club, who have venues on the Gold Coast, Brisbane and Perth and will be reopening very soon. Put in the code EVERBLACK to get 10% off your booking at lumberpunks.com. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the EVERBLACK Podcast through Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Facebook, and check out all our articles at everblackmedia.com. All right, on with the show. Brent, how are you, bro?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
Yeah, really, really good. So, how are you holding up over there with everything going on, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. I'm definitely an optimist. I'm not necessarily a subscriber of pessimistic outpouring, if you will. There's obviously there's a lot going on right now, but trying to find the answer to everything, trying to be objective about everything, and try to keep a level head on my shoulders and try to push out as much positivity as I can.
Absolutely. And, well, that's exactly what you and the Shine Band... Sorry, man. It's a bit of a crazy morning here. Well, that's what I was trying to say.
So what time is it where you are exactly, and where exactly are you?
It's 11 a.m., so I've got no excuse, and I'm on the Gold Coast.
Come on now. 11 a.m.? I'm barely, I'm just starting to function at 11 a.m.
I'm on the Gold Coast, man. You know where that is?
Give me a landmark.
Okay, so... Well, Brisbane. You know where Brisbane is. You played Brisbane Soundwave.
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Yeah. I know. We're about an hour and a half south. So we're the place where it's sort of like all the beaches and... Movie World, Dream World, all the theme parks and all that kind of thing, where the touristy...
Oh, okay. Yeah, I gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. So I guess for some people it's early. I don't know. It depends what time you work. But yeah, man. No, that's because it's been a little while since you've been here, though, right? It was like 2010.
Yeah, it's been way too long, to be honest with you. We started working a couple of years ago with an international. We changed our international agent to the illustrious Mr. John Jackson, who's been part of the last couple of years of Download in Australia. And we've been trying to get back between 2018 and even 2019. It just did not happen. But we've not lost hope by any means whatsoever. It's just, obviously with what is going on around the world right now, everybody's kind of trying to scratch their heads a little bit as to when live entertainment, competition, sports, all that's going to be able to return to the way that it was. I think that's probably not going to be happening. I would like to think that it would happen sooner than later, but what you guys and girls have been doing in Australia is pretty remarkable, with how you've literally pushed the virus up against a wall and said, not in our country. You and New Zealand have done an amazing job of that. In America right now, it's a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
We're having to handle some serious issues at the moment. So, but getting back to Australia is a priority for us, definitely.
Whereabouts are you exactly in the States?
So I'm actually in California at the moment. I'm about 35 minutes outside of Los Angeles. I'm in a county called Ventura, which I have been in a extended stay hotel. I leave on June 1st as I am waiting for one of our producers to get back from Hawaii because he was basically quarantined in Hawaii. He was supposed to have been back 9 weeks ago, but he comes back tonight. And then Monday we're going to be able to finish out the project that we were working on, which is the second installment, a double album that me and Zach are doing for the Smith & Myers album that's going to be coming out later this year. But yeah, I've been in California since the beginning of January of this year because we have so many projects that were being done. Because 2020 was a creative year for Shinedown. We have the last show that we did in 2019 with Alter Bridge at the O2 Arena in London. We filmed that show, and so we were just finishing the last final touches on that show, and it's going to be released globally a little bit later on in the year. And then also we have a double album, like I was saying, me and Zach for the Smith & Myers project. The album Attention Attention, which had its second birthday last week on May 4th. Yeah. Finally, after 2 years of working diligently with the feature film that's going to be coming out about Attention Attention, which is essentially the musical to the album, just being told through a major motion picture. So that's coming on quick, probably towards the end of the year, I would say. And then once I leave here in June, I'm heading to Charleston, South Carolina, to be reunited with our illustrious bass player, Mr. Eric Bass, as we begin the next phase in writing Shinedown 7. So there's a lot going on right now.
That's more than a lot, brother. You don't even sleep, do you? But I mean, you have to.
I sleep okay. I sleep okay. I try to be done by. I try to have the work done. I've learned over the years when I'm working with Eric, it could be a lot longer. He has a tendency to start at 8 a.m. in the morning, and he'll go till 1 or 2 in the morning. How he does that, I don't know. Yeah. But that's part of being a producer, part of being an engineer, on top of having a ridiculously awesome voice and perfect pitch, and the fact that he can play 7 different instruments and all these other things. That guy doesn't sleep. He's the one. I sleep okay. Yeah, I've learned over the years that I start working in studios right around 11 o'clock in the morning, noon, but I'm usually done by 8 p.m.
So that's a good, that's a good work day, though. You know what I mean? That is still
because at a certain point in time, you're just in there, you're pulling at straws. I find also that I'm the freshest at noon. You know what I mean? And then so right around noon, the first, from noon to 6 is where I get a lot of the. That's kind of where most of my spark is, and then kind of my attention to detail kind of lasts around 8 o'clock or so. But when we're on the road and we're touring, it's a totally different animal. I don't go to sleep until 4 o'clock in the morning, but I don't wake up until noon. So it's just different.
Oh, man. Well, tell us a bit about this single Atlas Falls and the shirt bundle that, because I think what you guys are doing with this is incredible and very, very, very awesome. It's to raise funds for direct relief that provides PPE for essential medical, workers and to battle COVID. How did that come about?
I have to kind of walk it back 7, now I guess it would be 8 weeks ago. Once again, me and Zach were working in Malibu, and we weren't really paying attention to the media. We didn't really have our phones on during the day and what have you, because we were doing kind of 8 hours a day in the studio, and we were writing at the time as well. So we didn't realize that something was happening until we showed up at the studio. And our producer, he just had a different look on his face, and we were like, "What's going on?" And he was like, "Man, they just canceled South by Southwest." And for people in Australia, there's a conference that happens in the United States of America called South by Southwest. It happens in Austin, Texas, and it's been around forever. It's never been canceled before, and it was canceled. And so we were like, okay, what are we missing here? So I'm going to speed this up a bit. Basically, I was having to play catch up on everything because we were kind of 2 weeks behind what was already kind of starting in the first place. And so the reality was I got Zach out of California, got him back to Memphis so he could be with his wife and his boys. I stayed here in California, and I just started to educate myself as into what was going on because I knew nothing about a pandemic. I knew nothing I'd never heard anything about a coronavirus or COVID-19. I didn't understand the terminology of social distancing or lockdown or any of this. So I began to just educate myself as into what was going on, and lo and behold, as I'm digging through the internet and what have you, just trying to familiarize myself with what I had kind of missed, I came across this amazing company called Direct Relief. And so they're a company that's based in Santa Barbara, California, and they've been around since 1948. And they work with all 50 states in the U.S., but they work with over 100 countries. They worked pretty diligently during the brush fires that all of you dealt with. They were one of the big suppliers of the N95 mask, which in turn, initially now is something that's very, very useful considering the fact of COVID-19 and what have you. And we did a shirt also and raised money for the brush fires and everything that, was going on in Australia. It's actually still on our website. You can look at that as well. But so with the song Atlas Falls, we brought it out of the vault. This was a song that was written during the Amaryllis album cycle when we were putting that record together, which was our fourth album. Atlas didn't make the album for whatever reason, but I was at a kinship to this song. I always felt like it was it's a song about optimism. It's also a song about, being a humanitarian and understanding that, through perseverance and optimism, but working together, you can overcome a lot more when you put, when you take the initiative to, two heads is better than one, and in certain situations. And so anyhow, we brought the song into the fold, and we talked to Direct Relief about what we wanted to do. We created a T-shirt with them. And so if you go to Shinedown.com and you click the link for the Atlas Falls T-shirt, what happens is when you buy the shirt, 100% of the proceeds, it goes directly to Direct Relief. We've raised in U.S. currency over $300,000 so far. But we're also, when you buy the shirt, you get the song as a download, and at the moment, DSPs aren't necessarily allowed to have the song just yet. So streaming services and what have you, it's, you have to buy the shirt in order to get the song. That will change. We will eventually let DSPs have the song, but right now we're just trying to raise as much money because, like you said, Direct Relief, their sole mission is to make sure that the men and the women in the medical community and the scientific community, they have all the resources that they need during times of crisis to save as many lives as possible. So whether you're talking about poverty, brush fires, a natural disaster, a pandemic, that's where Direct Relief comes in, and it's just really an extraordinary organization that has been here way before COVID-19 and dealt with many, many crises, and they will be here after COVID-19. And they're just an organization that they're very selfless. They don't have a political agenda. They're not biased. They're there to help people.
That is incredible, man. Like I'm really moved by just that effort that you guys have put in, and it was just taking something out of the vault that you had a connection with.
Another idea, like the other thing too about Atlas was the fact that, like, a lot of people have asked me, well, did you just, because some people were like, well, when did you write this song? Like, how fast were you able to turn this around? And I'm like, well, we wrote it 8 years ago. And then people are kind of like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, when we go in and we make records, we don't really believe in a demo process anymore. We stopped making demos like after 2007. What I mean by that is once we write a song, we kind of get it record ready. And so with that process too, we write a lot of songs for the records. Just because a song doesn't make an album doesn't make it a bad song. It just means it wasn't right for that particular record. And with Atlas, the song was written off of the basis of the song came from a question. And the question was, okay, well, who is Atlas? What are you representing? In Greek mythology, Atlas is the god of endurance, and he's a little bit of a showboat. So he picked a fight with the Titans and basically his older brothers, and he lost. And so Zeus, to teach him a lesson, he placed the weight of the world on his shoulders to teach him to not be selfish and to be selfless. And so the question came, well, what happens if Atlas was to fall? And if Atlas was to fall, who would help him? Well, we would have to help him. We would have to unite together to not leave him by the wayside. If he's held, if he's holding the world up at a certain point in time, he may falter. But we all have to be there to help him pick it back up. And so that's where the optimism comes from and the perseverance. And I thought with so much negative news when it was really kicking off like 8 weeks ago and everything was happening and it was so hectic in America that it was more about let's put something out that has a sign of hope and optimism, because there's a lot of negativity right now. And so with that was a lot of why we did it. But the song that you hear today is the same song that it was 8 years ago. I mean, we even asked about the mix, like, did we bring it back out and like kind of make it more modern sounding or make it sound like, they asked, well, how did you make it sound like it was 2020? And I'm like, well, I mean, the song just holds up because the song holds up. I mean, the song that you hear today is the same song as it was 8 years ago.
That's incredible, man. And of course, a lot of people think, the band is just the members, the core members, but there are a crew and a whole bunch of people behind the scenes that make it all work, with touring and shows being on hold for the moment. How's that affected you guys and the rest of your team in terms of keeping the band and the business rolling? Has that been a challenge?
Well, the reality about that is we look at everything. We're very, very fortunate because we've been given an opportunity in the 20 years that we've been in the music industry, from a studio side, from a radio side, from, how we write music, how we produce music, how we put it out to the world. Obviously touring is a huge part of what we do. But we've always been very, very specific about our core crew. There's a lot of people that work with us that have worked with us for a long time. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example, like our monitor engineer is, he's clocking in 14 years with us. And, he's one of the key people in our organization. But our stage managers, our techs, the relationships that we have with our vendors, the people that do our pyrotechnics, the people that run our sound, the people that put the initiatives together with the buses, with the trucks, with the staging, with the lighting, with all the visual effects, all of these elements. And, we run on the bigger shows, depending on the tour. And if we're headlining, I mean, our core crew comes to around 25, 30 people that are with us at all times. And then from a larger scale, when you're bringing in the other bands and what have you, last year in the summer of 2019, we did a 3-month tour with 3 other bands, a band called Dinosaur Pileup, Broken Hands, and Bad Flower. So with all those people together, and then when you're looking at the local crew on a daily basis, I mean, we're probably responsible for 200, 220 people a day. So it's very important that we always make sure that they're taken care of. With something like this, we made sure that they were okay. We're all trying to navigate this right now together, but we take care of our own, man. And, right now we've been able to take care of everybody, and everyone's in a good, as good of a place as we can be at the moment before we figure out exactly how we're going to move forward with the touring industry. I mean, to be totally honest, I don't know if in America people will feel comfortable doing mass gatherings until they know that they can get 60 days without one report of COVID-19. And that's either going to have to be through inoculation or a treatment of sorts or a vaccine. I don't know how fast a vaccine can be made. There's so many speculations of when and where and how long it's going to take and what have you. Once again, just trying to be as optimistic as we possibly can. There's another element going on here too, I think, from a global standpoint with this, which is, the environment. The last time I checked, Mother Nature was undefeated. And, this is a bit of a reset also, I think, for humanity in a lot of ways. I think that the universe is testing all of us in a lot of ways. It's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to start listening to one another and talking to one another and not pushing off the compromise of sorts and listening to one another? So I've always felt like human beings, we're at our best when we need each other, and that couldn't be any more apparent than right now, because we definitely need one another.
Oh, dude, I 100% agree. Hopefully moving forward, as you said, you got to stay positive, but we approach each other and the planet and everything a lot differently, because I think we...
And it's not an easy situation for anybody, because I think that there is a level of people are wrestling with their moral compass when it comes to the people that have lost their lives to this and the potential of the people that could lose their lives because of this. But at the same rate, there's a huge economic disconnect right now. So you're trying to weigh out an option of, okay, well, if you do this, it's better for this scenario. Okay, well, if you do that, it's going to be worse for this other scenario. So you have this economic strain on everyone and trying to figure out exactly how to maneuver this and, how much longer it's going to be before there is what people, I think that if they're looking for this magic pill or this magic vaccine, I don't know if you're going to get it in the next 2 weeks.
No.
So the reality of that is you can't just depend on that right now. So you have to figure out a way. And the other thing too, I got to say this, the reporting and how certain media is choosing to put this out there and press it onto people, it's a lot of negative news. And the reality is that there are positive moments right now that are kind of being overlooked. Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of the reports in the U.S., they don't want to talk about the recovery rate. They want to talk about the death rate, and we understand that, but they're not even talking about the fact that it's almost 5 times the number, the recovery rate versus the death. With any kind of disease or virus, death is a part of that. But it's hard because people are having an issue with the moral side of things and what's right, what's wrong. Who are we to say, whose life is more valuable than the other? I don't think it's about that. I think it's about understanding that you have a situation where you have to figure out to the best of your ability how to safely bring each other back together again, but you're dealing with a virus that has mutated from another family of viruses because COVID-19 is essentially SARS. It's just SARS Part 2. Well, there'll probably be a Part 3 and a Part 4. So what I'm saying is that you can't just completely run and duck into a hole and think that it'll go away in a year or two. You have to face it head on.
We got to be positive.
Yeah, and it's just difficult right now because from the economic standpoint of things, some people are like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't just stay at home. I have children and I have to feed them. So I've got to go back to work. And then there's the other side of that where it's, people are like, you don't need to go to work right now. You need to stay home. We're not ready to reopen. And it's all subject to how you look at it. At the end of the day, this is one of those things where it goes back to the testing. And I'm not talking about testing for COVID-19. I'm talking about, the universe testing mankind, womankind, all species. As far as the human culture is concerned and our society, this is a huge test. What are we going to do here?
And another thing in terms of what you were saying about, people run businesses and stuff like that, and we were talking about the band, I think it's also really, really important for people to keep those tickets for those postponed tours as well, because it doesn't just support, the touring companies, but the bands and the crew as well.
I 100% agree with that. I think that if you are looking at things from a I know that there's a big tour coming to Australia. I believe you guys and girls are supposed to have Weezer, Fall Out Boy, and Green Day. And I know there's some questions about, because those are all in stadiums, 40 to 50,000 people. And how is Australia going to feel about that tour and what have you? But there's other places all over the world where there's tickets that have been postponed, not only just from the arts and entertainment, but, competitive sports and so on and so forth. Like in America right now, they're trying to figure out how are they going to go into football season. Are they going to have a football season in the fall? What is the MLB going to do, meaning, the Major League Baseball? Because right now they're saying, well, we're going to have a season. There's just not going to be any fans in the stands, and none of the players want to play because they're just kind of like, that just seems ridiculous. And, that might be a better idea to maybe not do that. I don't know. I don't really necessarily have a great answer for that. What I do know, though, is that people are going to need an assurance that they can go to these types of events and feel as if, they're not going to be putting themselves in a situation where it's dangerous. And then you have the other side of, the population of the world and people that are just like, look, and this is happening more and more now, where people are like, you're either going to have to face the virus or the virus is going to face you. With the flu, they give you a flu shot. It doesn't mean you necessarily will get the flu or you won't get the flu. It's just a precaution. It might help. But then it's, if you do get the flu, what do they give you? They give you Tamiflu, not because it's a cure, but because it's a treatment. and everything is seasonal as well. So what I would say is this: either the society will, I think it'll either burn itself out through herd immunity. Now, depending on how long that happens, I don't necessarily know, or they'll get a vaccine for it, and we can start looking at getting it back to some form of stable, safe, live events again, mass gatherings again, and it becomes a part of, this is just another virus that you have to look out for now. I don't really have the answer for that, but I do know that I don't think that people, even with, the mask and everything that's going on right now, my biggest thing was this. I was like, I hope that it doesn't become one of those things where people think that this is supposed to be the new norm, where it's like, okay, what are you going to wear tonight? I don't know, but whatever I wear, I need to make sure it matches my mask. I don't think that that's safe, and I don't think that that's right.
No, I agree.
I don't think that that's, you're literally looking at something that has, and I'm not finger pointing, but essentially, if you go all the way back to China, they're about 76 days ahead of everyone else. So you're looking at the course of 5 months when you compare them to the rest of the world. And you're like, if you look at this from a stage and say, well, the last time something like this happened, it was 100 years ago, which a lot of people talk about the Spanish flu, but if you do the research, there were other things that were happening that took out the same amount of people. It's just there wasn't an internet during that time.
Yeah,
and now that there's an internet and there's an information highway, which some people should be able to be on, and quite frankly, some people just they're a part of the problem. They're not part of the solution.
I think some people should have it's like driving a car. You should have a license to be on the internet or have a Facebook account. It should be,
and one of the biggest things right now is some of the more heavier global journalistic approaches that are happening, because there's a lot of clickbait going on. It's really, really frustrating to watch, because it's like you're basically reporting the same thing every day that you have been reporting for the last month. Like the whole thing about the vaccine, there's 100 different companies. There's 80 manufacturers globally right now working on a vaccine. I think a lot of people are like, you've been saying that for 4 weeks now. We understand that. Tell us when you've got it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? Like, people get it. Like, we got it. We know you're working on stuff. Tell us when you got it. We need to go back to living our lives.
No, 100%. Have you been talking to your peers, in other bands, to see how they're going?
Yeah, me and Sully from Godsmack, we were doing some stuff the other day. He has a hometown session thing that he's been doing on YouTube. He had Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach earlier today, but I did something with him the other day, and my girl Lizzie Hale, we did some stuff where I was on her show a couple of weeks ago that she was doing. Everybody's like trying to find kind of like a new norm, for this moment in time. As far as like privately talking to people and stuff like that, not really, man. Everybody's really just kind of hunkering down and trying to, make sure that they're taking care of their peeps and their own and what have you. But we all know what each other's doing right now. For the most part, we're all kind of in the same boat.
Talking about Lizzie, man, if I could put a team up together, I reckon Hailstorm and Shinedown Australian tour would just kick so much ass.
The big thing has been asked is I think it's Hailstorm, Shinedown, Pop Evil, and Bad Flower. That's been asked about, and Godsmack, and Five Finger Death Punch, and all our boys and girls. Hey man, eventually it's gonna happen.
Ooh, that's a tasty line up there, bro. That's a really good line.
Oh, that'd be a festival, hands down. If we were gonna do something that big,
man, just put that out in the universe, man. 2021.
I'm totally putting it out in the universe.
Oh, count me in, man. I'll be first at the gate. Beer in hand, ready to roll.
Nah, you know somebody. I can get you backstage, no problem.
Well, hey, man. Well, I'll bring some beers. That would kick ass.
Bring it on.
Absolutely. And, of course, this year marks, correct me if I'm wrong, 20 years of Shinedown. Is that right?
I think technically it's next year. Yeah, technically it's next year.
Dude, where'd that go, man? That's a.
It's interesting, man. It's funny. I'm 42 years old, and people have been bringing that up to me. They're like, "Man, you've been doing this for 20 years." I'm like, "Yeah, it still feels like I started yesterday," and that's a good thing. You know what I mean? It's for me, I look back at I didn't get my second wind until like 2010, 2011, because the first three records were very interesting and a lot happened in those records. But I don't think it was until it was after the Sound of Madness record cycle and then the album cycle when we did the touring. Because for Sound of Madness, we toured the 37 months. We did close to 440 something shows, and I remember I got off that tour, and I'm 5'8", and I weigh 222 pounds. I was in the worst shape of my life. I was still drinking at the time, and I wasn't on hard drugs that much anymore. But I just was in awful shape. And I had a really close friend of mine tell me something that completely changed my life. And they looked at me and they said, "Brent, to be honest with you, man, you are the most dangerous, and you are way more dangerous when you are sober and when you're clear-headed." For whatever reason, that stuck when that was said to me, like right around 2010. And so my journey began from 2010 to 2012, where I decided to make fitness and eating right a part of my lifestyle, everything in moderation. But from 2010 to 2011, I started learning how to work out, and I started training. And then by the time 2012 rolled around, I had lost 70 pounds, and I kind of completely changed my lifestyle and who I was as an individual, and it just completely changed my whole way of looking at things. And now even more so, I'm trying to make sure that people, especially during these times, with your immune system and everything that is so valuable right now, with being healthy and really taking care of your insides just as much as your outside, being in shape and learning fitness was probably one of the biggest things in my life that saved my life.
I'm about to start that journey myself, one step at a time.
One day at a time, man.
That's all I can do. But it's definitely inspiring, man.
Seriously, man. I'll never forget the first day I started, man. I had to tell myself every day. I started on a Monday, and I guess in my mind, I thought on Sunday I would be doing a Spartan race. That was not the case. You got to do it, one move at a time, one rep at a time, 1 pound at a time. That's the only way to do it.
Well, I've got to start my journey. That's what we're going to do. But it's definitely inspiring to see how you've achieved that, man. So thank you very much for just being an absolute legend and a weapon.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a huge part, eating as well, it's a big thing. I often tell people, I'm like, when you're doing the first initial kickstart, you may have to, but here's the thing, you don't have to subscribe to a life of like boiled chicken and broccoli for the rest of your life and an apple as a snack. You know what I mean? Like you have to look at, there's so many different ways to be nourished and to get nutrition and to eat really, really, you can eat really, really well. But you can also eat really, really good. It just depends on how you look at it. And here's the other thing too, everything in moderation. You don't have to be a saint with your diet every single second of the day. If you want a cheeseburger, eat a cheeseburger. Just don't eat a cheeseburger every day. You know what I mean? Like the same thing with you like chocolate cake or you're a sweet guy or girl or whatever, that's fine. Have, have something small every once in a while. Just don't have it every single day.
It's those damn Ben & Jerry's, man. It's what gets me.
That'll do it right there, man.
Dairy-free, man. Brent, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, bro, and hanging out and talking about everything going down with Shinedown. And, man, I hope you and the rest of the boys stay safe during all of this and get your asses down here as soon as you can and let's party. That's for
Working
sure.
on it.
Cool. Thanks.
Hey, I really appreciate giving me the time today. Thank you so very, very much. It means a great deal to me and the band, so thank you for the support. Much appreciated. We look forward to seeing you in the future.